Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about software engineering and demands. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, how is it that the demand is supposed to be so high, but it seems to be so hard to get a job as a software engineer? Well, the I would just tell you that there is a high demand. It's just that the demand is for people who actually know what they're doing. People who know their shit. That's what people are looking for. They're not looking for hello world application developers. They're not looking for people who is looking for their first job. They're looking for someone statistically with at least 1 to 5 years of experience. The sweet spot is usually around 5 years. If you have around 5 years of experience, you are literally human gold, and you don't, on average, you don't actually. Well, of course, it always depends a little bit on region and so forth. But if you're living anywhere close to the West, it's you in Europe or in the US or so forth. You will most likely not have to look for a job. You will get contacted on a daily basis, literally on a daily basis, by recruiters. You, in some cases, you don't even have to have like a LinkedIn account or Facebook account or whatever you have, right? They will just send you emails. They will find you. uh, but that is the truth of the situation, and the reason why this mismatch continues is one of the very reasons why I have this channel in the first place, to debunk this idiotic notion that you're gonna go and become a Google engineer or like something like that on average after a boot camp. You're not. There are people who are absolutely exceptions to the rule, but the vast majority of you are never going to see any type of serious software development until you have 1 to 5 years of of experience invested. Ideally, that should be work experience, but then we're not even talking about that you actually need the training. If you are fortunate, if you are usually extraordinarily fortunate, you will be able to get a job and like just kind of segue right into to the industry. Uh, the only thing I can tell you that's going to give you any type of comfort in all of this is that this is, as I like to say, the crucible that we all have to run. Every software engineer has to go through the same thing. Some of us have an easy start and some of us don't. But the challenge is always the same. First job, usually the hardest one. If you can get over that, get the first job and get 1 solid year of professional grade software engineering experience on your CV, working software engineering experience, the difference in interest towards you is going to shift like in a 80s movie, basically about some unknown person who tries really hard to become a superstar at something. Nobody cares, and all of a sudden they do one single thing or like get one magical break at one specific moment, and all of a sudden they're the hottest thing in town. That is exactly how it goes. And all these movies, as I've said before, they're loosely based on the software engineer's career, because that's exactly how it goes. You still have to have the skills, of course, but the difference between your relevance for companies when you have no experience and when you have just a year or two is enormous. The demand is so high that you cannot possibly understand it. That's why I cannot in a fair way just explain to you with words how much of a difference it makes. To give you just a remote, like I'll give you just a very small sample from my own life. The first time I looked for a job, I was fortunate enough to actually get headhunted for a small company. At that time, the only time I had ever talked to a recruiter, ever, was when a recruiter by mistake called me. It took us 15 minutes to realize that, because the guy he was looking for was also named Frederick, living here in Gothenburg, and he did PHP development, and I did that as well. Thought it was kind of weird because I had like just done it for a few months. I wasn't really a good software developer, and I didn't have a LinkedIn account, so I didn't know really. But it took us a while to realize that, yeah, actually, no, I'm not the person he was looking for. That was the only time I ever spoke to a recruiter. The second time I found myself looking for a job, and Well, actually, I didn't really have to look for one. I just wanted to maximize my options, because if I just wanted to, I could have just replied to one of the, like, I had a few messages. Once I had my first, I think it was 2 years roughly, or something like that, or 2.5, almost 3 years ish, something like that. So I had a lot of interest, right? So I sent out a message on LinkedIn stating that I am a so and so developer. I've been doing this for about so and so, and I'm looking for my next opportunity. Within the first 24 hours of this random message that I posted on on LinkedIn, this was a single post, no image, no nothing. It was literally the text "looking for a job," practically. I had 30,000 views, several hundreds of likes, and over 250 direct messages related to opportunities. That's how big the difference was. Those 2 weeks from the point I realized that I was going to move from the company that I was at and like go somewhere else, though the following 2 weeks from that point, the phone rang. The first 2 days they rang practically every 15 minutes for the entire day, and I didn't reply. Like, I didn't answer anything like that, because my basic strategy was this: I'm not going to talk to anybody until this whole craziness settles down, because I don't want to. Okay, I know that like they're most likely all going to rush now, and they are going to think that, oh, if I just get to him quickly enough, he's going to consider me first. No, because I'm a sociopath, so I'm going to play you against each other. And so that worked. After 2 weeks, like the first 2 weeks of it took, like I got my current job uh, within 2 weeks. I think it was settled within the first 2 weeks. Just that was it. It didn't take longer than that, and that was not because, I mean, I could have done it. Like, I could have had the first job, like, say, in the same day if I just said yes to the first person I talked to. But for the first 2 weeks, I had between 1 to 3 interviews per day. I didn't buy my own lunch for 2 weeks. That's how big the difference was between no experience and a few years. That's the massive difference I'm talking about. So what I want you to take away from this is that there is a very, very high demand for software engineering software engineers in general. What you should know about it, though, is that the demand is usually for people who have some experience. So the crucible you have to run is to find that first job. Once you have that first job and you have a year or something like that, at the very least, 1 to 5 is the sweet spot, you will have a fairly high relevancy, and it shouldn't be hard for you to get interviews. You still have to have the skills, because you still have to do the code tests and like the interviews and so forth, because they're going to verify if you have quality skills or not. But the interest level for you is going to be sky high. That is not the case necessarily for people who don't have that experience. That's the thing that goes lost in translation, and it's very conveniently omitted from a lot of the courses you might be taking on, especially on the web, right? The 3-month boot camps and like these so forth, like, they're going to teach you the basics, but the basics is usually not enough to see that sort of high level interest, because it's the experience that gives you that interest. Some of you are going to get in very quickly, but the vast majority of you are going to have to work at it. It's going to take a little while, but I promise you, the second you get a little bit of experience, professional grade software experience on your CV, the world will change for you. I promise you that much. Have a great day.